Cool. Should be good after that.
Well, I absolved myself.
So how many?
Well,
Okay.
I'm just
That's not like
informed.
okay. I can't do that.
I've been informed. I'm not going to say anything.
So I'm just missing a chair.
Yes.
Yeah, we fit on the chair. Yes. Where's the so it's not an extra chair, it's just like a chair. I don't know why.
Right there. Yeah, there's one for sure. Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much.
So welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
There's something there.
Yes. Yes. I just wanted to know. Hey, I need a.
I can always walk up.
I thought there was apparently there was a bucket. I went and checked it out today. I don't know if I want it. You know, what's your name? Because you. Yeah, I see the Liberty High School. That's sick. Yeah, I think you like to see it. Yeah, it's kind of niche. So there's kind of a lot. Yeah, which is less. I don't know what exactly. Yeah, I got canceled. I was actually before I was there. Yeah. Speaking of which, can I give you this? I don't do. I have one grader. I'm just trying to I feel bad. Hop on my own. Yeah.
Just in case.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. I forwarded. Thank you.
Get it?
take that for Samantha.
Kevin, right?
Yep. Not seen it. All right, don't have one yet.
Guess not.
All right. Like this piece here.
Okay. So when it gets officially put on the floor, I'll
With that. Okay.
Joe Jacobs. I might put these on top so people can find them. Okay, sweet. And like immediate.
Well, why do you not say it? Okay, that's frustrating.
Where are they?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Oh, I forgot to tell you congratulations on
Thank you.
your position.
Thank you.
You know Rithik, right?
Yes,
Yeah, him and I are good friends.
he got me in.
That's mine. Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. Even though we get on each other's nerves a lot. But I'll tell him I said this, but I love him.
Me too.
I'm not the brother.
Hello, hello. Hi guys, I just have a quick announcement before we begin. So we're working on things like to make a more cohesive like legislative branch. So I mean, I'm just announcing it now and then we'll do it next week, but I'm going to be handing out like pieces of paper. It's going to have like write your name, write your college, and then 4 or 5 things you're interested in on making legislation for. Because we're trying to make more like diverse groups with common interests for legislation. So I'm just announcing that now, like 10 minutes before we start. But thanks for listening. I mean, it was also Elizabeth's idea too, so.
We're gonna come to Alan. Yeah. The USB? Yeah.
Need to send them to you in the parliamentarian or just you? Both is fine if you'd rather do that. Yeah. I typically like to get them as well, just so I can make sure that they're on the agenda.
There we go.
There you go.
Cool.
Look at the way it's divided.
Yeah.
Who did it?
They made two name tags.
I think you are.
The thing is, it's been placed in such a way that Senate is divided on two sides. And the neutral people have been pushed on that side. I don't know why. No matter how much you try not to look for it, did you get a chance to refer those documents or something? Refer to that a couple times and you'll be better than me. So. Thing is, you did it one time, right? It's not going to stay in your brain. It's really like again and again and again.
Senator Pereira. Senator Reese. Chair Rencher. Here. Chair Salazar.
Here.
Senator Sanchez. Here. Chair Schumer. Present. Senator Shetty.
Yeah.
Parliamentarian Denarica.
Here.
Senator Taylor.
Here.
Senator Thompson.
Here.
Chair Trout.
Present.
Senator Vega. Senator Parker. Associate Senator Beats.
Here.
Senator Ayala. Here. Senator Hill.
Present.
Senator Ritter. Present. Senator Schmidt. Senator McHale. Senator Morgan. Present. Senator Jacobs. Associate Senator Melchior.
Here.
Associate Senator Hubley. Senator Jesus.
Present.
Senator Weaver.
Here.
Associate Senator Chacon. Here. Senator Belker. Is there anyone here that I did not call?
Senator Kelly.
Senator Kelly and Senator Bernard.
Associate Senator Joe, ZHOU.
You ready? We'll now move into the consent agenda. Is there any dissent to the agenda? Chair AP.
I move to move the Diversity and Inclusion Caucus report to above all of the reports, so we can make sure we have time to fill out our reports.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor of moving the Diversity and Inclusion Caucus report ahead of all the other reports, raise your placards. It appears unanimous. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, this motion passes unanimously.
I move to postpone the passing of the minutes from last week pending an opinion review.
Okay. Would you like to provide justification for that motion?
I did by saying pending opinion review.
Okay. Is there a second for that motion?
Seconded.
Second.
Okay. So this would need 2/3 to do. All those in favor, raise your placards.
Point of clarification, could you explain to like maybe new senators like what this is like going on, and just for clarification, just in case it's anyone new in the Senate, for what changing this would do.
Right, so postponing the minutes would essentially nullify what was done at the last session as far as votes are concerned.
Correction, Mr. Speaker, we're not nullifying it. We are just postponing it until an opinion has been rendered, which has already been sent to the Supreme Court, and they will be announcing on their reports today. So it's not nullifying, it is just saying we're not voting on this today. We are moving it until we have some more information.
Which would essentially say that the individuals who are ratified are no longer ratified for their positions, pending a review of the Supreme Court.
To make that more clear, everyone can still continue to do the jobs as is until that review is done and we have fully passing the minutes, because minutes stay as written until we are like fully passing it, because we had quorum last week. We are just not fully confirming them until we have more information.
Okay, so all those in favor of doing this, raise your placards. The new people. Okay. All those against, raise your placards. Nine. 10. If you could keep the placards raised, please, just so we get an accurate count. Okay.
Oh.
So this does pass with a 2/3 majority. That will be reflected. All right, we'll now move to the gallery for those with gallery input. Okay.
Can I motion to move executive reports before gallery input, because I have a feeling gallery input is going to be wild tonight.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of moving exec reports before gallery input? There's some people out there. Ask for dissent. Okay. Is there any dissent to that motion, rather? Okay, seeing none, this passes unanimously. So with that said, we'll start executive reports now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hayden Deason. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, if you don't know me already. I am the chief of staff this year. Not too much to report, other than attendance for SBPS events have been going well. We as a cabinet today all went to the El Centro Borderland speaker, Sonia, I forget her last name, but it was an awesome experience. And, you know, the LSC ballrooms are really lovely. Yeah, I'm very grateful that El Centro has been able to put on so many wonderful events this month. I really look forward to being able to go to more as the year goes on. And then not too much to report on my end. One-on-one meetings are going very well. I am very, very proud of everybody in our cabinet. Everybody's working very, very hard. We've also hired our new Director of Traditions and Programs, who will hopefully be getting ratified tonight. Woo! And then we're also moving forward in our interviews for the Director of Academics. So everything's going well. I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Hello, Senate. It's good to see you all again. I'm going to keep things really short and simple, just to not take too much of your time tonight. Yeah, so we're going to get a new Director of Traditions, hopefully with the approval of all of you wonderful people. I'm hoping for that so I can stop doing as much work. And then the next tailgating will be Homecoming Tailgate on October 15th. We'll need volunteers for that. Next week, we hopefully, like I said, fingers crossed, the new Director of Traditions will be passing around a sign-up sheet for people to volunteer. Other than that, things around the executive offices are going quite swimmingly. There is a lot of fun times. We like to hang out, talk about all the wonderful stuff in the ocean, in the sea, in the air, everything. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got. I will yield to Director of Governmental Affairs. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'll keep this pretty brief as well. So if you look in the agenda, there's a thing called election for LSAB. That's the Legislative Strategic Advisory Board. What it does is basically interacts with other governments around CSU to try to pass stuff to help the students. And we're having elections for that. So if you're a student, you're interested in learning about what the other governments are doing and how they impact students and want to change, I strongly encourage you to run when that thing happens. There's 3 seats available, so if more people run, will be competitive, but I strongly think that all of you, if you're interested, should run for this position. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alex Silverhart, and I am the Director of Health and Wellbeing this year within the Cabinet. I just wanted to kind of talk about a few of my projects real quick. I am working on mental health tabling, and I could really use some help from you guys. I will be sending out a link hopefully tomorrow for the Sign Up Genius. There was also a training done at the Health Network last Thursday. It's only an hour and there is a recording. So if you are interested in having that training before tabling, please let me know, but I'll be kind of in correspondence with you all via Slack and GroupMe. That's a reminder also to download Slack if you don't have it already. That's the main primary communication method used within the Senate space and ASCSU in general. And if you need help using it, I would be happy to help. Also, we're having our first blood drive October 31st. It will be spooky themed and the volunteers will be wearing vampire capes and vampire teeth. I think it'll be really fun. So if you'd like to come and donate, I would really appreciate it. Lastly, I know there's a lot of people here tonight. I'm really glad to see it. If tensions are high or you're feeling stressed in this space, the space tends to create a lot of stress. My office is open to anyone that needs it. I do share it with Jillian Cook. I don't know if her half of the office is open to people. She's saying yes. But there are fidget toys in the top drawer of my desk. You all are willing to take those and use those any time of the day, as long as you return them at some point. And then there's also a hot water kettle for tea, and there's also tea bags next to my desk. So if you just need somewhere quiet and secure to go, even during Senate meetings, I welcome you to use my space. Thank you.
All right. Before we start with gallery input, I'm just curious. When I got here, there were placards set up in different areas of the chamber. I've never seen that done before. I'm just curious as to why it was set up that way. Right, but it seems to me to be a concerted effort to divide the Senate in half, which at a point when tensions are extremely high already, it does exactly that.
Perhaps it's more a unified effort for SCSS offices to feel like we are actually held up by each other rather than the rest of the Senate space kind of thing.
Fantastic. We'll now move into gallery input. Is there anyone from the gallery who wishes to speak? And to clarify, gallery input's given 30 minutes, each speaker getting 5 minutes of speaking time.
Loloma, no yo manahin matua, no tawangwa, no pakiwangwa. Hello everyone, my name is Rasahumi Abdua. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Native American Cultural Center's Student Success Coordinator. So speaking as someone who is staff, and also someone who graduated from here just recently, I just wanted to say that I'm incredibly disappointed and really shocked at how things played out this last Senate session. Having watched that and also having heard that from various senators as well as our own, I just want to say that, you know, again, I'm really disappointed with how everything was handled and just the, I guess, disrespect that was given to our senators when they were bringing up topics that were really important to them. And that I think, you know, not only affect them, but also affect other people. Yeah, I just want to say that I really support our senators, especially in what they're doing. And I, you know, I really hope that all of this can get settled in a way that is fair, in a way that, you know, makes sense and is respectful to them, again, especially considering what has happened.
Hey y'all, my name's Lizzie. I use the she, her series pronouns, and if y'all don't know me within this space, I was last year's senator representing the Native American Cultural Center, as well as the Budgetary Affairs Chair Committee. So I was super uber involved in this space. So I just want to introduce myself to new associates and senators, as well as saying hi to the returners. I miss y'all. And just to reiterate what my pro staff, I am honestly so embarrassed by this organization. You all have so much potential, yet the way the situation last week was handled is honestly disrespectful, and it's embarrassing. And the people in power had a choice to navigate that in a different way, yet what they did is land all the harm on the SDPS senators and our senators. And I just wanted to let y'all know that even within the NAC space, I am a North Star peer mentor. So I sort of help first years with their transition into CSU. And I wanted to let y'all know our first years are feeling the impact that last week had. And if y'all truly want to represent all of our students, why are my mentees, why are my students feeling this harm that you all have caused? And I feel like it's an interesting perspective to recognize that if there's a senator in a different college or council, y'all don't represent yourselves. You also represent my mentees. I have mentees all throughout the different colleges and councils, yet why are those senators the one causing harm to me? And why are you causing harm to me too? I'm a student under zoology, and it's just really disappointing to see the harm that is caused in this space. And I wish y'all could do better. And I also want y'all to recognize the silence and those who didn't speak up is harmful. It's just as harmful as the negative statements that were said. And I just want to let y'all know our students are feeling this impact. And now they're having conversations as to why our existence is political, why our issues political when it's our existence. And I just want to let y'all know that. Thank you. I yield.
Yeah, hi everyone. For everyone who doesn't know me, my name is Ben Forrest Doxey. I was a former APAC senator and recruitment and retention officer in last year's Senate session. My pronouns are he and his. Well, I'm just now a student, but I was pretty active in the space last year. And I'm pretty disappointed with the way last week was handled as well, just because of the way the session went and events in the session that caused a lot of harm to folks. And it's pretty evident that it caused a lot of harm. I think there needs to be a massive reform, especially around the areas of Robert's rules. And because I think the rules are effectively used to silence voices. And people might disagree, but I mean, I don't know what to tell you. But I do think there needs to be massive reform by someone, I don't know who, leadership possibly, I don't know. And I also think there needs to be more done to address the impact that harmful Senate sessions have on folks that are affected, because there has been none. It's minuscule. Because every year this happens, and I'm sick of it. And that's all I'll say. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the gallery who wishes to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to judicial reports.
There was no inclusion practice reports before judicial reports.
From my understanding, that vote was to be put above all of the other committee chairs and caucus chairs.
No, it was above reports, as in.
Is that how it was understood? Okay, we'll move into that then.
Hello, I'm actually going to yield to Senator Ritter.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Adrian, for Senator Salazar. Hi, everyone. My name is Mia Ritter. I go by she, her, hers. I am an Indigenous woman representing as Senator for the Native American Cultural Center, and I'm here to share a statement addressing the previous Senate session that impacted not only me and co-senator Morgan of NAC, but also the rest of SDPS representatives and students in the entire space as a whole of ASCSU. After this incident, SDPS senators felt that they did not belong and their voices were not important in this space, especially if something was brought up that hurt the group on campus that they do not work with or know if it seemed like it did not matter. A few senators and I created this statement together among various SDPS offices and colleges. Talking with other SDPS offices, it's been expressed that night has impacted the physical spaces of SDPS spaces negatively. My concerns were invalidated and dismissed last week whenever I brought up concerns about ratifications. Voting was processed without Senator Morgan and I, and were unconsidered as we were harmed and felt very unsafe in space after we were approached and a member had to hold the person causing harm to us physically to stop walking towards us. That night, several lines of CSU's principles of community were broken: respect, integrity, social justice, service, and inclusion. There were clear bias from people who hold power in the space, and from that, I was harassed out of this space. There needs to be a change, and I will make it known I'm not leaving the space. I am here because there needs to be more voices heard from people like me with similar experiences. I'm here not to keep these situations unheard. I'm here for all senators and students to give them the right to know that, what is kept hidden. Sorry. Thank you. I yield back to you, Senator Salazar.
And I do want to preface Senator Ritter's words that diversity, inclusion, and equity are important, especially in this space, since it was questioned in one of the Senate meetings. It's easy to say that a senator agrees with such rules and stuff, but it needs to be implemented and acted upon with respect. So I yield back to you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Now we'll move into judicial reports.
Hey everyone, so the Supreme Court's actually working on a lot of great things. The main thing I want to alert all of you guys to, all of you to, is that we're going to have coffee with the courts the week before Halloween. So all that is we're going to have coffee, maybe tea within the ASCSU space. All the justices will be there, and we'd love to see all and every one of you come and speak to us and voice your concerns about the organization or just come to talk to us and get to know one each other. It's a great opportunity to build community within the space. On the back of the opinion request I received, the court did decide to take one of the questions within the opinion request. That question is further clarification on Senate bylaw 3F, talking about secret ballots using during ratification. Within this process, we give all of you the space to write us a brief to decide, to help us decide on which way we should go on this issue. So if you guys have an opinion on that issue, I encourage you to write me a brief and turn that in before Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Thank you. I yield.
Point of information. How would you like us to submit these briefs?
Email or paper copy is fine. My email is found on the ASCSU website. And you can email me anonymously, or you can just drop off a written brief within the office. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Is there anyone else from the judicial branch that wishes to report? Seeing none, we'll move into confidence business. The parliamentarian will put 2 hours on the confidence clock, starting with the ratification of Director of Traditions.
Hello, Senate. I know you all were hoping you would see me again, but I'm back. So I'm here to present our candidate for the Director of Traditions. Our candidate is sitting right over there. That is Reed Vega. Reed is a 3rd year at CSU, currently working on a construction management degree. Reed currently serves as a senator for the College of Health and Human Sciences and has been very involved in leadership and event planning for different organizations, such as 4-H, which is a youth development program. Reed organized and led multiple events, both at the county and state level, and netted him an impressive 500+ hours of community service through all these. Reed believes that giving back to the community that surrounds us all is a key objective of the Director of Traditions, and holds that the principle of helping others is a top priority of his. Without further ado, it is my honor to present Reed Vega as our candidate for the Director of Traditions.
Hello, everybody. My name is Reed Vega. I am a 3rd year, and I'm in the construction management program, as he said. And I was previously, or I guess earlier this year, I've been a senator for the Health and Human Sciences College. I am experienced with public relations and event planning, both of which I believe are critical to this role, as well as I believe that everybody's voice should be heard. Respect and compassion are 2 things that I think everybody should hold as high values. And they're 2 of my personal values. And with that said, I'm ready for questions.
Okay, we'll open up a 10-minute Q&A period, started with the first raised placard. Senator Hale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hi, Reed. You're having a good day. I thank you so much for your interest in this position. I think, let me see. I have a few questions for you relating to the position for Director of Traditions and Programs. My first question is, what experiences do you have on putting on events for multiple organizations, since that's going to be a key component for your organization?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So as previously mentioned, I am a member, or was a member of 4-H. And as part of that, in Oregon, I was on the 4-H State Ambassadors Advisory Board. And what that is essentially you organize events within 4-H across multiple different clubs and multiple different counties throughout the state that are for community service and as well as for fundraising.
Thank you for that response. Second question is how much experience within the CSU community with organizations in general? Do you have any relationships with, I don't know, fraternities, sororities, Greek life clubs, activities, etc. Essentially.
Absolutely. So as I am a junior, my freshman year, I was not very involved in CSU events. My sophomore year, I did join the mountain biking team. I'm no longer on that team, and I am not a member of any Greek life. This year I joined ASCSU, and I've really enjoyed it so far.
Great. And I have one last question for you. This was a question that was brought last year for direct attrition program. It's a significant thing, and ASCSU, or sorry, CSU communities in general. It is regarding every year around May, there is an Undy run where apparently every college students goes around and, in their underwear, it's 5K essentially, and it's a non-university, non-ASCSU sanctioned event. But unfortunately, there is a very high prevalence of reports for sexual harassment and sexual assaults and all that. As director of traditions and programs, how are you going to help eliminate any, how are you going to encourage students to perhaps find other alternatives or alleviate that culture or not to help with that when that arises, as it is a yearly occurrence since, gosh, forever in CSU?
Yes, I am aware of the Undy Run, though I have never participated. I think that I'm not sure yet, but maybe organizing a different event the day before or the day of even, and making sure to have a lot of marketing about the dangers and the concerns associated with the Undy Run, and making sure that the student population as a whole is more aware of why it's a tradition that we probably shouldn't have anymore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Chair Trout.
Good evening. I hope you're doing well. Just a couple questions for you really quick. How do you plan to balance ASCSU, school, and outside work if that's applicable?
Thank you for asking. So throughout my CSU experience, I have always worked roughly 15 hours a week, sometimes up to 20. During the summers, I'm usually working overtime, so I'm no stranger to hard work and long hours. That's a passion that I will be bringing to this position, and I have a lot of passion related to this position. Two of my goals actually include raising both CSU pride to be a CSU student, as well as raising attendance both to the tailgates and to the drag show in the spring.
Awesome. So you answered my second question. I have just one more question here really quick. How do you plan to host tradition and programs while ensuring that marginalized identities and those that historically are unwelcome at these events are included and made to feel safe in these spaces?
Thank you. I think that's extremely important. And so before events are happening, and really just whenever, if anybody wants to reach out to me in person through the Slack, please come up and talk to me. I would love your input, and I'll actually be asking input from certain communities regarding upcoming events and trying to increase participation as a whole.
Awesome. Thank you for answering my questions. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Chair Hady.
I see you, I've definitely heard these questions before, but I still want to hear your answers. How do you plan to uphold the University and ASCSU initiatives as diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Thank you for asking. I think that starts with respecting and having compassion for every single person you talk to. In my mind, that incorporates all of those principles as just a higher value. If you cover that, everything should be covered. But with that, I think it's important to ask people and just kind of, do a check every now and again and say, hey, like, you think I've been doing good? Or do you think there's something I could be doing better?
Chair Salazar.
Hello. My question for you is how will you uphold involvement in the SDPS offices?
Absolutely. So I will be reaching out to the SDPS offices and seeing if they're interested in having a spot at the tailgate specifically for SDPS groups. I think that would help both with participation and I hope with comfort of the participants.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to ask this candidate a question? Seeing none, we'll enter a 20-minute period of discussion and debate where the candidate is outside of the room. I saw Kyle first. I think I saw Adrian next. And Senator Malka, did you have your?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Senator Hill, go ahead and start us off.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I like this candidate. I think Reed checks out in my book. I think that myself and my constituents would be very happy to see him as the Director of Traditions and Programs. He addressed some of the biggest concerns I had. The last question I had was a big concern of last year's for traditions and programs, and I'm glad this Reed has addressed this pretty well, because I know that's a very important issue, as as we all know. So yeah, I endorse this candidate, and I would encourage my colleagues to vote yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield.
Thank you, Chair Salazar.
Yes, I would like to reiterate what Senator Hill said. I do think Reed is a good candidate for this position. I got to know him during the Diversity and Inclusion Caucus, and think he fits well. Yes.
Thank you, Senator Ayala.
Well, guilt or redundancy, because I think he's a great candidate. I've had multiple conversations with him. I think he's a really good candidate for this position.
Thank you, Senator DeBrew.
Hi, everybody. Reed and I are co-senators in the College of Health and Human Sciences, and I've had the opportunity to speak with him multiple times and get to know him outside of Senate. I think Reed is a great candidate for this position. He does uphold the values of ASCSU. I think that he would also uphold the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion very well. I do know that Reed was someone who reached out to me after last week's Senate session to let me know that he was in disagreement with what had happened and that he was there to support in any way possible. That makes me feel confident that Reed wants to support the voices of minoritized communities on campus. I know that his involvement in the speaker's office would also be a positive one, and for that reason, I endorse Reed. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Malka.
I'd like to move to the previous question.
Okay. So there's been a motion to end the period of discussion and debate and go on to voting. There's been a second.
Motion for clarification. Is there anyone else on the speakers list?
No. Okay. All right. So all those in favor of moving to previous question, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. I'd also entertain a motion to approve this candidate by unanimous consent. Someone want to make that motion?
I make a motion to approve this candidate with unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to that motion?
I dissent.
Okay, so since there's been dissent to that motion, this is a singular candidate. We'll do this by secret ballot. What you'll do on this ballot, you won't write your name. You'll just write yes, no, or abstention. If you are a senator, you can vote on this. If you're an associate, you cannot. But if you're an associate filling in for a senator, you can.
Also, I'd like to clarify, because it apparently wasn't clarified last week, that abstentions mean that your vote does not count towards the total.
Hi, y'all. Just to ensure transparency, I'm gonna go one by one to each of you and ask you if you're a senator or an associate, just so we don't get like an associate who votes on accident, and then that messes up everything. So when you get to see my lovely face, that's why.
Not bad. That's a long life for a thank you.
Senator Lozoya, yes.
Mr. Speaker, point of information, just because I am a new senator and I feel like a lot of people have also just been sworn in and stuff. So I'm just curious, do you think you could explain what all the votes mean to ensure that all the people have the right votes and stuff?
Okay, so a yes means that you do want this candidate to be director of traditions. A no means you do not, and an abstention means you neither do want this candidate and you neither don't want this candidate. So it's essentially like but that vote does not count for the total. That's more important for like if it were to be a 2/3 majority. The abstentions would matter quite a bit because that wouldn't count towards the total. For a plurality, it doesn't hold as much weight, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Can I have a piece of paper? The senator, I don't have a. Sorry. Thanks. When you're done, and if you're willing and able, if you would please just drop them off right where my placard is.
Yeah, no worries.
Is there anyone else who has a ballot that they have not turned in?
So at this point, it might take a little while to count out the ballots. I'd entertain a motion for a 5-minute recess while we do so.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Speaker, for a 5-minute recess.
Okay, is there a second?
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it sounded unanimous to me, so be back here at, yeah, I'll just say 7:32, I guess. No, you'll just have to go ahead and go up. Yeah, to the top. You'll just read it in abstract.
Yeah, your idea.
Yeah, and then the chairs of the committees, they'll talk about what they edited, and you'll scroll down to those parts. But I don't think you'll necessarily have to read anything. Yeah, just.
I don't need to call for that.
No, just make sure like it's not during your voting period because your voting rights will be revoked if you leave.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nick.
I got a question for you. So, I'll be right on the camera. What all is ASCSU have jurisdiction over? Because like I have an idea for a bill or project or something. I don't really know how to put this through. But to rent out the giant screen in Kansas Stadium that you can see from like everywhere on campus to local Fort Collins businesses, like throughout certain times of the day, so they can like advertise up there. For a ton of money.
Yeah, I mean, you're unique in the position you have as like an associate senator.
Yeah.
To get in contact with the marketing department for athletics.
Okay.
We have to go through athletics. It's not a decision that we could just make.
Yeah, so we'd have to get like.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has to be the approval.
So is there any like ASCSU action that's needed for that?
Not necessarily. No.
Okay.
Could be a resolution, like if you're working on it,
Sure.
say that we support that happening.
Yeah.
But there's no action we could take to make sure that happens.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That is for sure. Thank you.
Yep.
Just call How does someone remember that? How's your day going? What's that? Well, you're
31 to 41.
Biomedical. Do you happen to have blind right here?
All right, if we could get back to our seats, please. By a vote of 33 to 0 to 1, this candidate passes. Deputy Chief Justice will administer the oath of office.
Alrighty, this is just the oath of office. Are you ready? Alright, I state your name.
I, Reed Vega,
Do solemnly swear to defend and uphold
do solemnly swear to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth
set forth
by the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
by the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
We'll now move into the election of LSAB members. Director Welch, if you'd like to come up here.
I got the wrong guy.
All right. So the first thing to do is, if you are interested in running for this position, please raise your flag or someone else do it to nominate yourself. If anyone's interested.
Yeah, I'm going to nominate myself. Okay, so Associate Senator Dietz.
On a clarification, can you say what LSAB is?
Yes, so LSAB is the Legislative Strategic Advisory Board. What this board does is it meets with people in executive and people from you, like this all. And so every 2 weeks for this semester, every week next semester, I'll be telling you all what's going on with like the state government and the local government. And then we'll be able to discuss like what we want to work on, what we want to help work on. Like, let's say, like this, when the state government gets into session, there'll be bills on the floor. And I'll be bringing those bills to the review and be like, hey, this bill can help students. So we endorse it, and then we'll discuss it if we want to work on those or if we don't want to work on these. Also, we'll be meeting with different people from different positions, like we might meet with the mayor for Collins, our representatives for the General Assembly, and any other officials that we want to talk about, so we know more about what those governments are doing. So basically, what else have is this work on policies that students want to get done on the other levels of governments, if that makes sense.
Senator Morgan.
What information? What is your position again? Sorry.
I'm the Director of Governmental Affairs.
Director of Governmental Affairs. When does LSAB going to meet?
That'll be decided by the people who get elected, because it's gonna be some different people. That'll be discussed after the election happens.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
The Chair Salazar.
Hello, I nominate Chair Trump.
Chair Trout, you accept.
I accept.
Senator Hill.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to nominate myself for this position.
One further information, sorry, how many seats are there again?
There are 3 voting member seats. So anyone can attend it, but when we vote on what we want to work on, you 3 will be one of those seats will be the 3 that get a vote.
Point of information, is there a website for LSAB or some way which we can see more information about it?
Unfortunately not, because this was created 5 years ago and then it didn't do anything for 4 years. And they brought it back last year, and I'm still figuring out what exactly to do. So unfortunately, we don't have anything except for the kind of the bylaws. So unfortunately, I don't, but we are working towards fully fleshing out what else it is. So if you become a member, you also will be kind of helping define exactly what it is. Unfortunately, because it is new and didn't have it for 4 years. So unfortunately, we don't have one, but we are working on that.
And then point of clarification, those LSAT bylaws are in the 9/12 weekly report.
Yeah.
That's about 2-3 weeks ago, give or take. So
And that will help you understand more about LSAT, but unfortunately, it's not everything. Yeah, thank you for bringing those up, Chair Trout.
Are there any other nominations or self-nominations? Okay, seeing none, we'll have these candidates come up here. They'll present and then answer some questions that you might have.
Yeah, it's really easy for reflections.
You care what order we do this in?
Point of order, one candidate gets to present at a time, so the other 2 need to go in the hallway.
All righty. Well, good evening, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. My name is Braxton Dietz. I haven't had a chance of meeting you yet. So a little background on me, just a few fun facts since I haven't gotten to know everybody yet. I'm a freshman here at CSU. Super outdoorsy guy. I love hiking, skiing, and all that good stuff. So this past year, my senior year of high school, I was president of the theater department at my high school. And this department started as basically nothing. I hate to say it like that, but like very few members, very little funding. But with my work and the work of many others, we were able to quadruple the funding, created a relevant program from the dying program, and doubled the members. In addition to that, throughout my life, I've been told that I'm a natural leader. Now, I don't try to be a natural leader, but I've been told that whenever I step into a room, people naturally just kind of gravitate towards me to steer things in the direction that they need to go. I'm super passionate for helping other people and understanding where everybody's coming from. I've always been a super empathetic person, super caring and understanding, and I have a lot of drive and dedication. This, I think, is derived mostly from many years of being a military kid. I've lived in 6 different places throughout my life, so I've basically had to, restart in each place. So I've learned how to, really take goals and set to working on them immediately. As far as LSAB, I would love to be on this board. Because I'm really interested in the workings of our government, the governments around us, and representing ASCSU. Now, if you don't mind, I'll open up the floor to some questions. Or does everybody else need to present first?
No, you can answer questions. Right?
Perfect.
Senator Melka.
All right, well, you seem to be a pretty amazing leader from what I've learned from you so far. My question is, what kind of ideas do you have for this? What do you want to do, and what do you see yourself doing by the end of the year with this position?
Sure. So I think that CSU is a huge part, obviously, of the Fort Collins community, but also the community of the state as a whole, and even the Midwestern area of the United States. So working with the state and local governments to ensure that our relevance is heard and influenced in the correct ways, I think would be a big goal, and smaller goals can stem from that. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that question. I think you'd be amazing. Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Melka. Senator Kilburn.
Yeah. So I was wondering how you plan to represent all the identities of all the different students at CSU, particularly the identities you don't find yourself encompassed in.
Sure, definitely. So like I mentioned, I pride myself on being a super empathetic person. And also, like I mentioned, being a military kid, I've lived in many different cultures around the world. So I've had lots of experience interacting with people from cultures that are not necessarily my own, people who don't necessarily think like me, and whatnot. So yeah, I think between empathy and past experience, I think I would be able to cover that pretty well.
Already, I yield my time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Doyle.
Are there any specific issues you would like to bring up as a member of this committee?
At the moment, no. I think the best way to find the best issues to cover is to be a part of the community, really get down into the nitty gritty of it, understand what goals we end up working towards, and then it'll stem naturally from there, instead of trying to do it from the get-go when I'm not even elected yet.
How then do you plan on expanding your influence in the committee and getting involved with different groups and identities?
Yes, that's a great question. I think that, just working again with the local and state governments, and working with all of you, making sure that all of y'all's voices are heard on this committee and with the people that we talk to, if that answers your question. If you'd like to clarify that, I'm totally open to that.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you. I yield my time, Mr. Speaker.
Of course.
Thank you, Charity.
Okay, again, you've definitely heard these questions.
Yeah.
How do you plan to uphold the university and ASCSU initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Really throwing me a curveball there. I think, again, like I said, my empathy is a strength that I hold really high in everything that I do. And I think that, everybody's voice is important. Whether someone thinks completely different than me or thinks the exact same as me. I think that CSU is not a bunch of different organizations and a multitude of different people working towards their own goals, but a multitude of different people and organizations working towards the same goal, to be one people.
It is your job to represent all identities, not just those that you hold. How do you intend to ensure that you're doing this?
Awesome. Great question. So yeah, like I said, just making sure that all of y'all's voices are heard, and working towards the goals of those that I don't necessarily identify right alongside with, along with those that I identify with, maybe even more with those that I don't identify along with, because you have to recognize that you have, inherent biases towards, the things that you've been, taught, raised with. So I think that just making sure that every single voice is heard at the end of the day is the most important thing that we can accomplish here.
Are you going to recognize your inherent biases?
Yeah, awesome question. I think I'm going to cite back to that military thing I was talking about, where I've lived in many different cultures throughout the world. I think I recognize that as a white straight guy, I have certain biases that maybe others don't. And I think that simply recognizing that and working to combat that would be an excellent first step.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lowe.
So state and local legislation is very important in serving people with disabilities. How do you plan to do outreach to not only the SDC members here, but also the disabled students on campus so that way you are represented with needs?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, every voice needs to be heard, and I promise to work tirelessly to make sure that every voice is heard, not only by myself, but to those who I am trying to lobby to. And anytime any of you, should I get elected onto this board, anytime any of you would like to talk to me about anything that you would like to see done in your community, in your state, in your nation, I would be completely open to that and meeting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Morgan.
Hi. Okay, yeah. Have you read through the LSAB bylaws and familiar with the position?
Yeah, so I have glanced at the bylaws. I don't know them like the back of my hand quite yet. But I've had extensive conversations with Director Welch about what this position entails, what kind of work we'll be doing. And it's from these conversations that I derive the interest of being in it.
Okay, great. I yield.
Thank you.
Senator Lozoya.
So you mentioned that you really care about making sure that everyone's voice is heard.
Absolutely.
And I was kind of curious what you plan to do in terms of resolving instances of racism and bias in certain spaces.
Sure. I think that racism and bias has no place in any space, obviously. I'd be rather concerned if I did. But I think that working to make sure that anything that we are lobbying for our state and local governments do not include those things, and working with you all, especially from the SCPS offices, to be sure that those are clean from those sorts of things.
You also mentioned this is your first year here at CSU.
It is.
I'm kind of curious how you plan to balance being part of ASCSU as well as being the lead of this and school and any other extracurriculars that you plan on.
Sure. Yeah, so I mentioned being president of my theater department in high school. And because we had to rebuild that basically from the ground, I was putting in, 15 or more hours a week on that. So I'm very familiar with hard work and what it takes to get important things done. And, you know, balancing my priorities in life.
And lastly, my last question is just, can you explain what you mean by empathy in terms of other people versus sympathy? I guess that's kind of my question.
Sure. Yeah. It just, you know, understanding where everybody's coming from, understanding, you know, that this world is made up of a multitude of, you know, types of people coming from different varying backgrounds, and just understanding where people are coming from, why, and what they're saying, and, you know, being able to use that to influence the work that I do on this board, or hopefully do on this board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers who have not spoken yet? Otherwise, we'll move to the secondary speakers list. Seeing none, Senator Doyle.
Sorry, I have a new question.
Yeah.
So the ASCSU space is not conventionally a party government. We don't have things like Republicans and Democrats. However, in our local and state governments, those are in fact things. How will you separate your own political beliefs and so that not to bias CSU policy with labels of Democrat and Republican?
Sure. That's an awesome question. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, I think as I interact with state and local governments, you know, just making sure that they recognize that I represent a nonpartisan organization, and recognizing any political affiliations I might inherently have, and doing away with those as I interact with people.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, I'll have this candidate leave the room. And his last name was Dietz, just for voting purposes later on. All right, candidate Trout.
Hi, y'all. I'll keep this quick. My name is Sammy Trout. I go by the he, him, his, his pronouns. I'm a senator for the College of Liberal Arts and also the chair of the University Affairs Committee. I have been really interested in LSAB since I heard about it, which was last semester. Around that time, I just know they were having a hard time meeting and like getting things figured out. And so by the time they're like, yeah, you can join, we had a month left. So not a whole lot of Fridays, but I'm really excited to potentially be a part of this board. I think it has a lot, it can be really influential in how ASCSU operates, not just within the Fort Collins community, but within the state. I am someone who finds a lot of enjoyment of going into the nitty-gritty of things. I'm the one person that I know that actively goes through each bill that comes out that I'm intrigued of and reads however many pages that is, which can be so many. Additionally, my spare time I do look into things that I'm really interested in, and update sites that need that information, such as Wikipedia, for example. It's really easy to update Wikipedia. But I try and ensure that when I update it, it's equitable and it's easy to access for individuals who want to look at that data, especially with timelines and whatnot. That's just a little bit about me. I'm happy to answer your questions.
All right, Senator Doyle.
So ASCSU is not affiliated with any sort of political party, but state and local government do in fact have political parties such as Republican and Democrat. How will you separate your own political identity from that of the ASCSU space?
Thank you for that question, especially in such a polarized environment that we're in politically, where it's really hard to have agreement on both sides. As I said, I'm someone who really likes getting into the nitty-gritty of things, and rather than looking at legislation from whether it was Democrat sponsored or Republican sponsored, independent sponsored, looking at more of the meat of it rather than who fostered or who drafted it, who made it, etc. And basing it more off the merits of legislation, which I believe is much more of what we do or will be doing, than actually looking at who authored it, if that answers your question.
It does, thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Lowe.
So, local and state legislation plays a really important role in the lives of people with disabilities. So I was wondering how you kind of do not only outreach with the Student Disability Center, but with the disabled students on campus to make sure that you're best serving their needs if you're elected to this position.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So I think I work very closely with the senator's delegate from the SDC, and I would love to work more with the SDC in general. I am someone who's still actively trying to familiarize myself with ADA law, which is not the easiest thing to do, given it was last updated like a decade ago. And the website probably hasn't been updated since longer. So that's something that I have recently been really wanting to advocate for. I know that's something as someone who works at off-campus life, I know the big thing with Ramride Fleet is the lift portion of it. And actually just had a meeting with the director of off-campus life to figure out how we can make Ramride more accessible for students of disability in multiple facets in whatever way that sees fit. This is still a journey that I'm still just very much beginning, and it's something that I'm really excited to continue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lozoya.
Yeah, hi. So I was just kind of curious, can you describe any prior background or any like prior knowledge or experience when it comes to governmental affairs?
Yeah, so I am minoring in political science, and it's something that I actively get myself involved in every day. I, again, really like the nitty-gritty stuff, so actually looking at legislation, watching C-SPAN in my spare time. Raise your hand if you know anybody who watches C-SPAN in their spare time. 2, 3, beautiful, just a handful of people. It's honestly pretty interesting watching like things happen live. But in terms of that, it's definitely something that I want to focus on, especially as I continue my advocacy. It's something I really want to get more involved with in government affairs. And it's something I think a lot of intersectionality that if you have a good government that works for people rather than, special interests, et cetera, you can really see the benefits of governments, that sort of thing. If that answers your question, I felt like I jumped on a lot.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Okay.
My other question is, why does diversity and inclusion matter to you?
Yeah, so diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that I have been advocating for years. It's something that I want to continue doing so. I think it's something that really sparked within the summer of 2020 during the Black Lives Matter movement. It was honestly a movement that I, as a white individual, didn't really understand when it first came in like 2013. I was 12 at the time. But it's something that as I've been able to learn and grow from that and to listen to other people's experiences, it's really fundamentally changed how I view the world. And I think, I can't find a reasonable drawback to having more diversity, equity, and inclusion because it includes more people and makes sure that people's voices are heard. And that's what we want an effective government to do. So that's something that I am continuing to learn, obviously. But it has been one of the proudest journeys I've been on so far.
Thank you. Are you?
Thank you, Chair Salazar.
My bad. How are you going to, how are you going to recognize your inherent biases in this position?
Yeah, so I think working with a very diverse group of individuals who come from different backgrounds is really something that I absolutely love working in those environments, as well as being someone that goes, hey, that was uncalled for. Don't do that. I really, especially when, things kind of get out of hand and I do something wrong, I want to be called on it. And with things that I believe I have a strong preference for, I would make that known, like, hey, please call me out if that's not, the response that you want me to do, or how can I educate myself further? Because, we all have our own inherent biases and whatnot. And I think that's really important to recognize, and it can be really hard in the moment to call that out, but I have all the faith in the world that I will be called on that if and when that happens, and I'm humble. I think I'd like to think I'm humble enough to recognize when those call outs come into play, if that answers your question at all.
So bouncing off of Senator Lowe's question, how do you plan to represent SCPS offices in the LSAB, like, meetings and stuff like that?
Yeah, so that's something, meeting with all the SDPS offices as well as meeting with all the SDPS senators. So many, just looking out into the audience right now, I don't think I've ever seen as many SDPS senators in this space, and I think that's something that we should really take not for granted. And wanting to hear these voices, especially from individuals who are new to the space, who are older to the space, meeting with members, as well as meeting with the directors and interim directors of each of the offices and wondering what would you like to see from LSAP now that we can actually start, hitting the ground running instead of just kind of being in the background.
Thank you, I yield.
Thank you, Senator Amy.
Chair, thank you. How do you plan to uphold the Nursery and ASCSU initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yeah, so kind of jumped on that. It's something that I've been advocating for a really long time. As many of you know, I co-authored the first piece of resolutions that was on the floor, which was diversity, equity, and inclusion, and recognizing that spaces of power do have a lot of isms in it historically, and it's very hard to pull that out if they've anchored their teeth within that. I think this board, with it being so new, it is really it's very accessible to get diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives into this board, especially. I'm just trying not to repeat a lot of the things because I do that a lot. I hope that answered your question. If you want me to explain a little bit more, I can.
I did, I yield, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Amy. Are there any other questions for this candidate? Cool. Seeing none, I'll have you leave, bring the next person in.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.
For voting purposes, that was candidate Trout.
Hi, good evening, Senate. My name is Kyle Hill. Pronouns are he, him, his. And I'm currently the Senator of College of Vet Med and Biomedical Sciences, and I'm running to be LSAB member. I was an LSAB member last year, and I'm coming to try again this year. Let's see. For 3 things on my agenda, I always wanted to be a part of, I always keeping track with this, what's going on in our state government and our federal government and policies that can affect me and everyone else. And 3 things that I'm very focused on that I want to really put in when as an LSAB member is mental health, disability services, advocacy for the LGBTQI+ community, and healthcare. I feel like that our healthcare needs a mini reform in our community. I think that our healthcare is not quite equitable, and I want to ask questions and promote, and talk about ideas in which the state government of Colorado can have better access to healthcare that can include, more universal coverage. I think for people with pre-existing conditions. Somebody myself with a disability. I have Tourette syndrome, and I understand that sometimes it can be embarrassing for me to admit that, but I realize at the same time that it's part of who I am, and it's not something, and it's very it can be hard, but I think that by using it to go out and be an advocate for other people with disabilities is something that I really want to try to do by spreading awareness and spreading, more research opportunities and funding for research opportunities for that sort of thing. And I would like to push the federal government in doing that, recognizing healthcare. I've had many battles with it myself, and I know my mom has a seizure disorder, and my friends who have had issues with healthcare, and we know that it can be very unfair and unequitable. And as somebody who wants to go to medical school, which hopefully I will be attending next year, I'm happy to say I want to really change the system and how it's being running, and I want to promote to be more equitable and reach out to communities with contain more marginalized communities and reach out to healthcare and, and make sure everyone has equal access for everybody, no matter what status they may hold. And I think that's my 3 top priorities to look at as an LSAT member, and I want to make sure that, that I want to work hard this last year that I'm here at CSU, and I want to give it my all, my 110%. And if I do have the privilege to be elected as an LSAT member, I promise you that I will give full effort in doing so. Mr. Speaker, that is my time. Open for Q&A.
Thank you. We'll start 10 minutes of Q&A with the first raised placard. Senator Marco.
Good evening, Kyle. Hope you're doing good. I think you're a very inspiring person, so I think you'd be great for this. With that being said, what kind of experience from last year do you think, what did you learn from your experience last year? Now can you use that in this position again this year?
I think finding myself last year, LSAB and where I'm at, I got to meet some individuals who came and spoke, basically from the Colorado State government. And I think that, last year that I decided that, okay, certain positions that I held were not for me. For example, I realized that as speaker, that was not the right position for me. And I think that, holding a voice and, is something that I'm better suited at. And I think as an LSAT member, I learned to communicate, collaborate, and work with others as a team, making sure policy is being promoted, and learning and educating myself on the community around me, Fort Collins. Specifically, we were working on housing, with last housing reform, making sure that equal access to housing was established within our community. And that is, there's some agendas and education that I've learned as an LSAT member last year. I think does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. I use my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Melka. Senator Lowe.
Hi, so you mentioned that you wanted to become a larger advocate for people with disabilities. And so I've been asking this question, following about if you could kind of like get into some more specifics as well of how you want to kind of like build solidarity between people with disabilities. So local and state legislation plays an important role in the lives of people with disabilities. How do you plan to not only work with the Student Disability Center, but do outreach to disabled students on campus to serve their interests in elected in this role? And I'm also interested in how you are going to be working with those who may have different disabilities than with you. For example, I am high risk for various viral illnesses, and particularly with COVID-19. So I'm really interested to know how you would see yourself as an advocate in those spaces for policy and protection for immunocompromised folks.
Thank you. Let's see. I think that being an advocate for disability is something that I would like to continue doing so. And as I mentioned, I have a disability. My mother has a disability, so I have experience with that. Some of bipolar and some of Tourette's. I think that, and I'm within the. I go to the SDC a lot for accommodations, and I see the community around me, and then I realize that, that people with disabilities are not at all fairly represented, and I know because I've been bullied and harassed myself because of my disability, and I've seen others bullied and harassed. That's actually why I wanted to become a doctor, so I can heal those with disabilities and make sure that everyone can live a substantial quality of life. And I want to reach out to the community. I want to go to the SDC office more often, and talk to my fellow peers within the SDC, and ask them what they need and what can the state government do to help support them, and reaching out and my fellow friends, and see how I can continue spreading the word, people with disabilities. And I think that there was a lot of questions. If there's any questions that I'm missing, would you please elaborate?
Yes, so I also wanted to know how you are also going to advocate for disabilities that you do not have, and I used mine as an example. I'm immunocompromised.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I was last here. Just want to make sure I cover everything. I think that, if I'm within a certain area, ask questions. Don't assume. Don't assume just because you have something, everyone else is going to have something. And I realize that there are many disabilities out there, and Tourette's is not the only one. It's one of many. But I want to realize that people who I hold privilege of disabilities that many people do not have, and I want to recognize that, and I want to be an advocate for people, whether it be spread awareness, and help others who have it, and ask questions. This is really what I can do. What can I do to help you? What can I do to help others? Because I don't know unless you tell me. And taking that effort to really reach out and sit down, whether it be a lunch or dinner or coffee or whatever, with people around me and ask them what you need is something that I want to do.
Thank you so much, Ayo.
Thank you, Senator Doyle.
So the ASCSU space is largely nonpartisan, unlike state and local governments, which are very partisan in terms of Republican and Democrat. How will you go about to not bias CSU towards one or the other party?
I think that by being neutral and listening to both sides of the aisle is something that, and taking consideration of what people's different views, and understanding that my views are just one, and that people have many different views politically, whether it be one who's more conservative, one's more left liberal, or left leaning. I think that, understanding and taking it in, and at the same time, not holding, first of all, not by attacking someone based on their political views, and not, getting into frequent arguments that could, make them feel unwelcome or not heard. Being able to come in with a neutral manner, just hearing out both sides. I think that's the best thing I can do. Again, listening, and coming in with an open mind, and not, taking a side one way or another, and representing all people, not just people of like any political party that I hold. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Chair Athey. You're next.
There's actually only has two answers, so I yield all the questions.
Thank you, Chair Salazar.
I yield to redundancy.
Cool. Are there any more senators with questions for this candidate? Seeing none, we'll have you exit the room.
Thank you for your time.
And that was candidate Hill for voting purposes. So I'll now move into a 20-minute period of discussion and debate, starting with the first raised placard.
Can I have a motion to previous question? I motion to previous question.
I don't actually have a motion to that. Whoever was that, would you amend that and wait for a little bit of discussion first? Thank you.
Okay, Senator Denson.
I guess I'd like to start off by saying I think all these candidates were great. I think we asked them a pretty extensive list of questions. I think they all had good answers. I didn't see any
What you'll
concerns
do
with any of them. I think they're all great candidates.
The candidates
we should
under
have- they're
election
all
process.
Also, thank you.
Just put Dietz, Trout, and Hill.
Senator Love.
I wanted to say that I was really impressed with candidate Hill and candidate Trout's answers. I think that they both have thoroughly thought through issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially as it relates to students with disabilities on campus. Local and state legislature are really important spaces for people with disabilities. And for that reason, I have to say that more time to learn, especially since he's a first-year student. I don't think that he is experienced enough to be in this advocacy role. Thank you, I yield.
All right, Senator Malka.
Thank you. I believe that all three of these candidates are very good options. Knowing all three somewhat to an extent personally, but I would like to say that Senator Dietz, I think that Senator Dietz is an incoming freshman, so he does have some things to learn. But again, at the same time, there's nothing wrong with putting someone into a role and then learning from that role. I've been a few different roles. Well, this is one of those roles this year that I did not know that I'd be in, and I'm learning as I go. I think that Senator Dietz would be a phenomenal pick, and I've gotten to know him personally. He shows really good signs of amazing leadership and just compassion for everyone. And I think that all three of these candidates are exceptional people and exceptional candidates. Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Senator Thompson.
Yeah, I apologize for making a motion too quick without letting people have their discussion. I just want to endorse all three of these candidates. I think Chair Trout and Senator Hill have had great presences in the ASCSU chambers, and I've been nothing but impressed with Senator Dietz as an incoming freshman representing the College of Liberal Arts. I think it would be unfair for us to require that, you know, him to be older or more experienced, as this is an entry-level job. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Correa.
Senate. I believe all three candidates presented phenomenally well. I think their answers were very well articulated as well. I do realize that Senator Dietz or candidate Dietz in this instance is just pretty new and there might be some concerns, but I've probably spoken to him like 2 or 3 times and I've seen that he's putting a lot of effort to learn and grow. And I think I would like to say I endorse all three candidates and all three candidates should be members of LSAP. Thank you, I yield.
Thank you. Senator Rosario.
I just wanted to also second what Senator Reed said, I think. I do think that, yes, it's possible for him to start at an entry-level position, and I know that he's just like an incoming freshman, but I think that because of the fact that he's so new to CSU and still learning so much, I think that it concerns me that he's being put in a position very quickly where maybe it's not best to learn through the fire, if that makes sense. And I would also like to say that it did concern me, his answers, when it came to how much he emphasized how empathetic, how his empathy and how his compassion for everyone will push him through without actually saying any examples, other than stating that he was a military person, he moved around and experienced a lot. I just don't think that he gave or provided enough specific examples to show that he actually was intending or does intend to advocate for diversity and inclusion. I yield.
Chief Justice Zacharias, did you have a point of information or? Okay, Chair Akey.
These answers concerned me with how tired service he was on an oppressive and problematic organization, military. And while he is new and I give him that, the military focus is where my concern was, with how much representation house that was with him. However, on the flip side, I was very impressed with Trout and Hill's answers. I yield.
Senator Johnson.
Yeah, hi. So I think I am a freshman and I think it's super important that freshmen are given the chance to have more of a voice on these types of things. Yes, we don't know much about the community, but I think that's a crucial perspective. We are learning things. And I think that's so important to recognize that he's learning. And I think we can learn a lot from freshmen that are learning to experience college because we can give crucial information about how maybe CSU isn't benefiting us in a great way and how we're not being provided for or given knowledge that perhaps other grade levels have. And I understand that military can be problematic and that some of his answers weren't always the most ideal, but I think there's a lot of room for growth. And I also have a class with Braxton, I don't know his last name, the first guy, and he is very kind, and I think he has a lot of potential in this role, not only to learn, but to be an advocate for knowledge. I yield.
Okay, we'll now move on to Chair Venture.
I'd like to echo what Senator Johnson has expressed in the importance of involving freshmen in leadership roles on campus. It is extraordinarily important. We want to keep excitement up for becoming involved in anything on campus for freshmen. And if Senator Dietz can spread the word to other freshmen and show like, hey, I've been involved since my freshman year and I've learned so much from this position, that is the main goal. Especially as with ASCSU, we want to make sure we're reaching out to freshmen early and being like, you can get involved in these spaces. We want to encourage you. We want to be there with you as you're learning and growing. And I see so much of that excitement and that eagerness to learn and to make an impact in Senator Dietz. And we should not be shutting that down. We want to look for motivated leaders who want to make a change and a difference and an impact. And for that reason, we really need to be involving him. And if there are concerns, the wonderful thing is that we can work with him. He seems like such a kind person we can work with. And if he becomes a part of LSAB, that's not saying something bad is going to happen. He's going to ignore anyone. We can work with him and express any concern that we have with him. We're not going to, I'm hesitant to say something bad will happen right off the bat in the future. Just by looking at his brief answers, it's like looking at how he answered politely, respectfully. And so the way he handled himself in those answers will show how he will handle himself with any future conflict or confrontation. So if you do have a concern, I believe he would listen to you. And with that, I yield.
Thank you. Chief Justice Zacharias.
I just want to preface this by saying I don't endorse any of the candidates given my role as Chief Justice. However, I'd be remiss to not acknowledge that this discussion based on the candidate's age and his grade level is a little inappropriate. Simply, you can't judge someone just based because they're a freshman, you don't know what their experiences were before, and that's what this discussion should be started about. If you have reservations about his experience, keep it to an experience, not about his age or his grade level. There's freshmen in this space that are more than accomplished, more than willing, and more than passionate to be willing participants in this space. Beyond that, I hear you guys' concern about his military background. I again think you guys are judging him a little unfairly without knowing the individual. I too come from a military background, and I don't believe that you guys would have that same reservations about me. So just hearing that he's from a military background is unfair to his candidate. And with that, I yield.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Senator Tinson.
Yeah, I would also like to say that he's going to be paired up if this does go through with Chair Trout and Senator Hill, both of whom are very, very capable. So I feel like any potential wrongdoings that maybe Dietz may do can be sort of counteracted, and he has very good people that he can lean on in Chair Trout and Senator Hill that can advise him and further his learning experience. He won't be going at it totally alone. He has people around him, and unfortunately, I can't remember your name, but there's very capable people around him that will be able to support him through this process and answer any questions that he has. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Ritter.
Hey, y'all. So from my perspective, I do have some mixed concerns with Dietz in terms of DEI and his answers, but I'm keeping in mind that he hasn't had much experience within the ASCSU space. And so with that, Dietz does have a bit to learn in the space. And although I'm not super satisfied with his answers, I do think that on the flip side, I know that him working with under Director Welch, I think, there could be potential as I see Director Welch as an amazing mentor. And although I do not expect him to educate Dietz for anything, I do think that he's been willing to learn
and, educate yourself in support of terms of DEI. But yeah. For that field.
Thank you, Senator Kelly.
Hello, so yeah, I am a first year student as well, just sworn in today. I've been coming to the Senate session show, and I think just multiple points. Again, I don't think his age, I'm a first year student as well, and I think it's good on him for going up there and going for this position. I think that takes some courage. Well, in the military part, I personally have family members who have been in the military, and for them, it's been a positive experience. Got them going when they needed to get going. And I understand people do have negative experiences with it. And then the main problem I had with him was the lack of examples with either his empathy or stuff like that. And so I was just wondering if it would be possible to bring him back in for further questioning about that. Just so if we could provide more specific questions and get examples from him. Thank you.
So is there any dissent for that happening, bringing the candidate back in for further questioning? Okay. You dissent? Okay. So we'll do this by placard vote.
Point of information, would the remaining people on the speakers list speak before we bring him back in, or would we go and bring him back in before that?
I guess it's for the Senate body to decide if we wanted to bring the candidate for further questioning, and then once that questioning ends, then we hop back into where we left up on the speakers list, or if we want to continue where we are on the speakers list and then bring the candidate back in for more questioning.
Point of information, who's left on the speakers list?
So on the primary speakers list, there's Senator McHale, Senator Ayala, and Senator Doyle. And then on the secondary speakers list, we have Senator Zoya, Senator Lowe, Senator Correa, and Senator Milka. So there are quite a few people that are left who wanted to say something. Senator Morgan.
Point of information, what if like after the question period, if you have concerns? Or is this what we're talking about, like if it can be added to the speakers list? Is that what this is about?
So essentially what this is about is we just bring the candidate in for the questioning, maybe clarifying questions. And if more questions arise, you can be put on a discussion list.
Okay.
Yep. Speaker pro tem 4.
Hi, so this is a perfect teaching moment for all of those in this space. So you had an idea, but you didn't motion for anything. So what is it that you would want to motion for? Because right now we're discussing a motion that hasn't even been made. So perfect teaching moment. What is it that you would want to motion for?
Yeah, I would motion to bring Senator Dietz in for further questioning.
Is there a second for that?
I would like to amend that motion to bring Senator Dietz back in after we have exhausted the speakers list.
Do you accept the amendment to that motion, Senator?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of information for that. Also, is that permanently exhausting the speakers list or just going through the members we have now and we will come back to discussion midway afterwards?
Go with what we have now, and then after we bring them back for questioning, we go back to discussion with the new speakers list.
Okay, so you won't be ending the time, just temporarily ending.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So does everyone know what we're voting on? Okay. So we'll do this by voice vote. So all those in favor of bringing the candidate back in, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions. Okay, so there's division. We'll have to do it by placard. So all those in favor of bringing the candidate back in, please raise your placard. All right, go ahead and put them down. All those opposed? And abstentions. Okay, so with a vote of 9 to 22 to 4, this motion fails. We will. So Senator Kelly, since you did not yield, you still have the floor, unless you wanted to yield.
Yes, I do.
Okay. So now we'll go to Senator McHale.
I just wanted to echo what the Chief Justice was saying. I feel like right off the bat, we really marginalized him for being in the military. And I don't think that's fair at all. And I also think like being in military can also be a strength in a way, and being a freshman and going up there and being able to have the courage to advocate for a position he wanted, especially with less experience than most of all of you in the room, I feel like is very impactful. And to hear that you, some of the senators that like just automatically disagreed with him because of his non-experience, it really deferred me from wanting to be a part of something of leadership in ASCSU. So I think that's just something we could keep in mind. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Ayala.
I'm going to yield to redundancy.
Thank you, Senator Doyle.
So I would like to make mention of the LSAV bylaws as they're currently written. As the bylaws are currently written, the LSAV board is very much a learning space, as all decisions that are to be made must be formally ratified by the Senate if it is a formal decision that they want to make of the local or state governments. So I believe that Senator Dietz would be very capable of learning on the position and should be ratified by the court, or not court, Senate. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Associate Senator Melchior.
As a naval veteran for 9 years, I just want to say the military is a very broad and diverse group. Secondly, I'd like to clarify, he said he was a military dependent, meaning his parent was in the military. So to judge him based off of the job or service of his parent seems a little inappropriate, as well as we're still circling around the ageism of him being a freshman, which I think is inappropriate. I yield.
Thank you, Associate Senator McCall.
Hi, yeah. It's this question of experience seems to come up frequently in our Senate. And generally, I really do believe that ASCSU is very much a learning space, and that everybody has a right to come into this space with zero knowledge and, you know, get their hands dirty with whatever they want to. I think it is also important to understand the context of their position. And I think because of their potential involvement outside of our space in like an actual state or local political body, that's a lot different. And I think that the experience needed for that position looks different. I think if this was in anything else that was just in here, it would be different. And that's just what I think about this. So I don't.
Thank you. And we are approaching 19 minutes of the time for discussion and debate. So I would entertain a motion. Well, we're going into the secondary speakers list now. So I would entertain a motion to exhaust all speakers lists.
I'd make the motion to exhaust all speakers list.
Second.
Okay, so all those in favor of exhausting the speakers list, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? This passes unanimously. So we do have Senator Lozoya going first.
So I would just like to reiterate or say that these positions represent an entire community, not just yourself. And I think that that's very important, considering that I believe that you're right in the sense that everyone deserves a learning experience. I do think, though, however, that it will be interesting to see how you advocate for a community that you've only been a part of for a little bit. And I do think that he is more than capable of doing it. And I do think that my mind has been changed in the sense of that. but my reservation only really stands with his answers to diversity and inclusion. So, thank you. I yield.
Thank you. So since we are exhausting the speakers list, Senator Capru, and we're on the secondary speakers list, I guess it would be up to this body if they would want you to have the discussion point. Because we'd be outside of, the scope of the first speakers list. I don't necessarily have an issue with it. So all those in favor of allowing Senator Capru to give a point of discussion and debate. Right, but the speakers list was exhausted. Senator Capru does want to say something, so it would be up to this body if we did want Senator Capru to have a point of discussion and debate. So if someone wants to make that motion to add Senator Capru to the speakers
I
list.
motion to add Senator Capri to the speakers list.
Okay, all right, so all those in favor of allowing Senator Capru to speak, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? Okay. This passes with a majority. Senator Capru, since you were added to the speakers list, I'll just put you so that you'll have the very last word. All the secondary speakers will go first. Okay. So next we have Senator Love.
So I just wanted to first say that I think that this is a great space to be able to learn. I am also new in ASCSU this year, and my concern with experience comes down to the fact that this is a position working as a bridge between local and state advocacy, and that is a much different space with larger impacts to larger communities. My concerns still stand with Dietz. He did not make any mention of the Americans with Disabilities Act or Section 504, which are complex pieces of legislation. Senators Hill and Chair Trout did make mention of those, as well as already having outreach in those communities. I do think that it is an environment where he would have good mentorship. I, however, still have my reservations because this is a space where there is a potential to influence local and state policy. I do have to say that I still do not support his endorsement, and I'm speaking as a representative of people with disabilities and the interests of people with disabilities, not only at CSU, but on a local and state level.
Thank you, Senator. Do you yield?
I yield.
Thank you. Senator Correa.
Hello, Senate. First of all, I'd like to apologize for whatever is happening to all my freshmen here. Trust me, you all are very, very valued within this space. I would also like to apologize for anybody with a military background. I would like to redirect and say that you are all very valuable and appreciated within this space. I find it rather ironic that we talk so much about inclusion, yet the moment somebody is different from us, we're like, nope, I don't like you. It's wrong, it's ironic. And I feel that all three candidates deserve an opportunity to serve on the board. That's all. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Malka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As someone who has a lot of family members in the military, I want to say that I respect all of you. And I would like all of you to think, imagine you going to bed at night as a little kid, not knowing if your parent or guardian is going to live the next day. The other thing I'd like to say is Senator Dietz, one of the first questions I asked him when he was becoming senator was, would you work with me on mental health reform? And I also brought up my learning disability as well to him, which is ADHD, and he was more than willing to help me with that. I think Chair Trout would be an awesome example for him to help teach him diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I think that learning from Chair Trout will help a lot. And also the analogy that I have is freshmen are great to have in these roles because you look at them as almost like, you look at football backup quarterbacks, right? They learn, they eventually start. That's how you got to look at him. If he has all these years of learning and being taught how to do things, he's going to be amazing by the time he's a junior or senior. So we should look at it that way. But yes, I think all these candidates are amazing people, like I said earlier. But again, I'd like to apologize on behalf of ASCSU for anyone in the military. We respect you, we love you, and you are valued. Thank you. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Malka. Senator Capru.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good.
Great. Fantastic.
I'm glad to see that Senate is going much more cordially than last week. Very proud of all of us. So with this discussion, I had one clarifying question to Mr. Speaker, if you would. How many seats are available as of right now for LSAP?
There are three.
Yes, please.
So, and I do apologize for not saying this earlier, but how else that works is there's 8 voting members in total. There's 4 from executive and there's 4 from the Senate. Anyone in the legislative executive or the speaker is a voting member, and then we have 3 voting members, which are the 3 people you're voting for. And we're also gonna have those 4 people from executive. And they're just simply voting members. However, me and my 2 co-chairs, we are the 3 that will really be talking to the people. The reason that like all these positions exist is simply to get the voice of what Senate wants, and then also to get the voice of more students. But yeah, like there are these 3 seats, but there are more. Just these are only 3 available for senators, if that makes sense.
Thank you for the clarification. And are all 3 candidates, are they all 3 running for the Senate position?
Yes, and I'm hoping that when we vote, it'll be a yes, no for each candidate. It'll not be voting on a slate or anything.
Okay. So based on the discussion that we've been having for the past 20 to 30 minutes, I think everyone is in agreement that all 3 candidates are more or less capable of performing their duties in this role. There are, of course, some contentions about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and making sure that these people are fit for their roles, especially about Senator Deeds. I also agree with people's points that being a freshman or arguing about Senator Deeds' position in CSU as a freshman should not be a point of contention, because we should not be discriminating against freshmen, because as Justice Zacharias said, freshmen are more than capable as well. And then when it comes to the military topic, we did hear from multiple people that it's not fair to make assumptions based on somebody's military background. A lot of people can come from the military. However, I do want to clarify that having an identity as someone who comes from the military does not make you diverse. You can't identify as diverse. So you cannot therefore be marginalized or minoritized because of your identity in the military. But I can see where everyone is coming from. It's not correct to make assumptions based on your military identity. I wanted to make that clear. And then with that, I wanted to say, if everyone agrees, I think all 3 should be elected into the seats. I think in good faith, electing Senator Deeds would be a good idea, because yes, as a freshman, he has a lot to learn. This is a learning space, and we did hear from you that LSAB has been going on for 5 years, even this is the first year that it's actually been active.
The second year's been active.
The second year that it's been active. So LSAB itself has a lot of space to grow. I think all 3 candidates are showing great initiative. I think everyone made fair points that it is a learning position. While it is not the other 2 chairs' position or responsibility to educate Senator Deeds, if we find out from Senator Deeds that he is willing to learn more while he is in the space, and he is willing to mitigate the risk that is potentially potential, then I think I can agree that Senator Deeds does deserve to be in this position. And with that, I yield my time.
Thank you. That is the end of the speaker's list. We'll now do this by a secret ballot vote. You do have the names of the candidates on the screen. Next to that name, indicate yes, no, or abstention for each candidate. And again, same rules apply. Senators vote, associate senators only vote if they're voting in place of a senator that's absent.
And again, y'all, if you're willing and able to bring those up, please.
Yeah.
Remember to hold it, please.
So something to think about, we do have 15 minutes left on the confidence clock. I'd entertain a motion to extend it by an hour.
Motion to extend it by an hour, but before I finish that, while voting is still happening, I would like to again clarify, because this is an important statement, that abstaining means that your vote does not count on this topic. That now I make the motion.
I second that motion.
Okay, so all those in favor of extending the conference clock an hour, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Passes unanimously. And then I'd also entertain a motion for, again, another 5-minute recess while ballots are being counted. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of 5-minute recess, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? All right, come back at 8:50, please.
It's very fun trying to be another person. I'm like, I can't say anything because I'm like, you all are like, not me. So I can't say anything.
That's the one downside if you leave it.
It is, I mean, it's really, yeah.
Can you have mine? Whatever. I don't get it at all. I'm like. Yeah. Doesn't make sense at all. Yeah. Heck, yeah. This has been a really long week.
Yeah. Yes. Right. A majority. You have to vote on them all separately. You can't take a lot of
Oh, so.
I explained multiple times that you write things down, you put yes, no, or abstention.
You do have the other one?
That, I think it'd be efficient, it might be. Either someone has said no, or yes. Or have. Yeah, because like, let's say, like.
Then they.
It's the majority.
It is, but I think that's the part where I'm getting.
It's not a real.
Yeah.
I don't.
Because like.
Because if someone abstains on a candidate, then it'll just be out of the total vote. Yes. Because abstentions might be different for all the For each, no, for each individual. So say like one of the candidates gets 10 abstentions, those don't count. So if they have more yeses than nos, then they get. That's what if they get more yeses than they do nos, regardless of how many percent. Yeah, that they didn't. And they didn't say
Hey Abby, when is lunch covered? Tuesday at 4 p.m. in the you guys moving, right? You're still figuring out the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I.
Oh my God.
No, a lot of my parents.
Yeah, and I mean,
Hi, y'all. For those of you that are in the chamber, I have 3 votes that were not written out correctly. So if you either just put the word yes or just put names, can you please come up to the stand because your vote will not be counted since you voted inaccurately.
I'll check the people in the hall too. You like write each letter.
Okay.
So far, so good.
So all of them are good one that came, that like voted in there. So they're all fixed now? Okay. Should I bring people back in? Not the candidates, the voting? Yeah, but if you want.
No,
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that everything is chill.
Are they okay? Okay, I'd ask everybody to go ahead and get to their seats, please. Then after this, we only have two other pieces of legislation. One's old business, and then the other one is just a piece of legislation on first reading. So it shouldn't be too much longer. Okay, so by majority, all of these candidates pass and are now LSAB members. Yep.
Maybe remember to say that they got in this time.
Chief,
Did we do it? All of us?
a justice from the Supreme Court. A justice from the Supreme Court will swear the new LSAT members in.
Are you all ready? All right, repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Kyle Reynolds,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
set forth by the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and will rightfully perform
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much, everyone. And next week or in 2 weeks, we'll be doing the exact same thing for the executive branch. So if any people in executive, they're gonna come and do the exact same thing. So thank you very much for all this. I'll see you all later.
All right, now we'll move into our old business. This is Lex 5201, the ASCSU Constitutional Amendment Act of May 2022. Yes, Charity.
I was just preparing for the internal changes to stuff.
Okay. So, I guess this is new for a lot of you. I'm just gonna have the parliamentarian read it in abstract real quick.
Abstract. This bill seeks to prevent the nullification of the 58th and 51st Senate constitutional amendments and amend Articles 11 and 12. All citations of the ASCSU Constitution within this bill refers to the version submitted during the 2022 ASCSU General Election.
Great. So for context, every year the Constitution, along with all of its changes, has to be put on the ballot on RamWeb along with the student body elected officers. And we need 10% of the student population to vote in order to ratify the Constitution. Last year we got 7% voter turnout, and so the Constitution is not ratified. So this essentially streamlines that process, makes sure that the Constitution from 2 years ago and last year are cohesive, so that we are actually, running off of some foundational document with rules. So if the committee chairs would like to present the edits at this point.
First document only went to Internal Affairs Committee, and the only change that we made was endorsing it as a committee. We think that reaffirming the Constitution as is great, and that was literally all of the conversation that was had.
Fantastic. So we will do this. Yes, Senator Doyle.
So I am unsure about how this works, but are we able to modify this document at all and as a Senate if we're all in agreement?
I do believe it would be like an on the floor amendment, but the bill author, which is Kevin Clark, I don't know if it was written by anyone else. The bill author is not here, so friendly amendments couldn't be made because the bill author isn't present. So that's what that process looks like.
We would just have to vote on every change as a Senate as a whole.
Okay, then I would like to propose a change to this document.
Okay, what's the change?
So on page 6, that pursuant to Bill 5018. I'll wait till you guys scroll down to it. I would like to change the to be amended to read as followed, that the student diversity programs and service offices and the adult learner and veteran service office and the Office of International Programs and the ASCSU First Generation Student Collective Board shall be represented with 2 senators per office and shall be appointed to office at, wait, no, wrong one. Sorry, I said the wrong statement. Down one more. The SDPS ALBS International Programs Office, the Multi-Faith and Belief Student Council, and the AAC First Generation Student Collective Board will be provided with no more than 2 associate senators per senator rather than per office. This is the change I would like to make.
I just want to make a quick information because I'll admit I have not read this like in full because I fully trust Kevin to have added all of the things exactly as they were. In the Constitution as it is now, senators, no, SCPS offices are given to senators and 4 associate senators. That has been since updated. And so that was it was now evening it out to be equal to college councils. College councils get 2 associates per senator. Just for clear information there.
Yes, but as that statement is written now, they would only get 2 associate senators per office, and they also only get 2 senators per office. That's the only statement I'm making.
I'm blind, I apologize. Hey, wait, what's the change right there?
I am changing the word office to senator.
Okay, is there any dissent to that amendment? Seeing none, the parliamentarian will reflect that change.
Capitalized senator. No, sorry, just the essence senator. My apologies.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you.
You're good, you're doing great.
All right, is there anything else in this document? Yes, Sherry.
Okay, I think if there are other changes, I moved to expedite this Lex because Lexes require 3 reads to be passed, and I think that everyone kind of is in a consensus on this document. It doesn't need to
Yes, Officer Bukhari.
Do you want that just for SCBS officers, but also like the first gen ALDS and insurance?
I mean, all of the offices.
All the officers.
Yes.
And point of clarification, that's what that does. It's not just SCPS officers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's been a motion to expedite. Do you want to do that by unanimous consent? Okay, is there any dissent to the motion to expedite this piece of legislation? Seeing none, this is expedited. So now I would entertain a motion to vote on this piece of legislation by unanimous consent.
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion.
Okay, Senator Hill.
A motion to, vote on this piece of legislation.
Okay, by unanimous consent.
Yeah, so seeking unanimous consent and voting this, piece of legislation in the affirmative.
Okay, is there any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, this passes unanimously. Okay, now we'll move on to our new business, Bill 5203, Sunset Clause for Bill 5115. And the author of that is Senator Correa, if you want to come up here and present that. Okay. And yeah, you could make your way up here. The parliamentarian will read the bill in abstract.
This bill aims to create a sunset clause for bill number 5115, whereas the 51st.
Then Senator Correa, if you want to explain the bill.
Evening, Senate. My name is Ritik Correa. I also go by Rick. Now, this bill is pretty simple. So last year or last semester, we passed a bill, Bill 5115, which allocated $5,500 to off-campus life, specifically for getting lift codes for students to access the health center. And the goal back then was for it to start last semester, but that didn't happen. It got delayed by a little bit. So we are still figuring out logistics. And while I was speaking to members in the office, I was told that, since we're still figuring it out, it would be better if just again, a heads up, this bill terminates on the 31st of December, because that's the clause that was mentioned over there. And just so that we can figure out the logistics, I wrote this bill and I propose that we extend that to, I believe, May 31st. I forgot. But I'm pretty sure it's May 31st. So that's the only goal. So the funds that are going to be allocated for this are still with us, and the off-campus life bills us, I believe, every month. And so just so that they can continue billing us till the end of the next semester, I returned this bill. And I'm open to any questions now.
All right, Chair Scott.
Yeah, just really quickly, for a lot of the newer members who might not know what the bill was, can you briefly describe a little bit, as well as where they can find that on the ASCSU website, so they can look into that when they have time to.
Yes, I had asked the front desk to send it out, but I guess they didn't. But it's fine, no way. So basically, the bill that I wrote last year, 5115, allocated $5,500 to off-campus life so that they could purchase lift codes, hand it over to the health network, so that if a student calls and tells them that, hey, I cannot make it to the health center because I do not have transportation, or for whatever purposes, they would be given via a secure message to lift codes for them to access the health center to and fro. So that way they wouldn't have to spend money to access the health center. Like, let's say they had lower back pain and they wanted to go to the health center, but they don't have a car, or they have a car and they can't drive. How would they go? Preferably Lyft or Uber. But you got to spend like $8 to $10 for that. Not every student can. And so in order to help these folks, I wrote this bill so that they can access the health center to and fro for free.
Cool and awesome. And then just for newer members, if you want to look at that piece of legislation, the 51st Senate legislation book, which there's a virtual copy under the resources and ASCSU documents, and I believe there's also a physical copy within the speaker's office. Is that correct? The physical 51st legislation book?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So if you want to look at a physical copy or virtual copy, you can look at that, but I think Senator Correa described it beautifully. So thank you, Senator Correa, and I yield.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, this bill will be sent to Budgetary Affairs. Awesome. Now we're going to go on to ending roll call, but just to remind folks, there are more things past ending roll call that take 10 to 15 minutes, really important updates. So if you wouldn't mind staying, I'd really appreciate it. Senator Hill.
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to make.
Okay.
I motion to put the fight song after the roll call. Or right before we call it, adjournment.
Okay, is there a second to adding the fight song to the agenda?
Will you clarify or putting it in your plan?
Right before we adjourn, the last thing I have to do before we adjourn.
Thank you.
Is there a second for that motion? Okay, so all those in favor of adding the fight song to the agenda right before adjournment, please raise your placards.
I think it'd be cool.
I think it was 10. Okay.
Who doesn't have voting rights?
Okay. All right, so all those.
Here, as a woman.
All those opposed to adding the fight song to the agenda? Okay.
All of you guys are fucked. I love all of you.
Okay, go ahead and put it down. All right, and abstentions. All right, with I think that was 4. With a vote of 10 to 23 to 4, this motion failed. Sorry, Senator Hill.
Again, I just want to reiterate what Speaker DeSalvo said. There are many things after ending roll call that you need to know, and so do your constituents. It only takes about 10 to 15 minutes. And it's a good way to end after a night of doing a lot of work. So I highly encourage you all to please after ending roll call.
Okay, Chair Trout.
I would like to make a motion to use beginning roll call for ending roll call.
Second.
Okay, so all those in favor of using beginning roll call as ending roll call, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? I do believe the ayes have it, but I'll just do it by placard just in case. Okay, so all those in favor of using beginning roll call as ending roll call?
Information. I wasn't here for beginning roll call, so can I just be added to anyone? Can we amend the vote to add anyone who wasn't here? Anyone who wasn't here?
It takes 2 seconds.
So do we want to amend the motion to include folks who showed up a little bit after?
But it's still faster than a whole.
I'm sorry, Kim, I disagree. I want to make the amendment to my motion to have members who are not here for beginning roll call do that.
Okay. So I guess in that case, if you weren't here at the start, just come up to the clerk and state your name and say that you're here. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, since I was an amendment to the order, since I was an amendment to that motion, do we have to revote?
We do.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay, so all those in favor of doing that?
Vote.
One abstention. Okay, with a vote of 29 to 3 to 1, this motion passes. So we'll move into our caucus report. We'll start with Women's Caucus. Do you have a report?
Hi all, I would like to announce that Women's Caucus will be held on Tuesdays from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the conference room. I would really like to see some new faces. I would like to get to know some more women, some more people in this space. And if you have anybody that you know in your college or in your classes that is interested in meeting with me and creating a sense of community in a place where we can all feel comfortable, maybe soon we can get coffee together or do something fun. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Is there a Constitution Caucus report?
What day is the Women's Caucus again? Sorry.
Tuesdays from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the conference room.
Thank you. Constitution Caucus.
Hi, y'all. We'll be making this report much longer after next week that we will be holding Constitution Caucus Chair elections. And the reason, I want to be transparent, why it has taken us the amount of time that it is that I am not an advocate of trial by fire. So in these last 3 weeks, I've been able to have members come into space, know what Constitution Caucus is, how to run a meeting, how to do all these other things, because trial by fire sucks, as many of you know. So I am having elections. Well, we all are having elections next week. So if that's a role that interests you, please let me know. We have Constitution Caucus on Thursdays from 4 to 5.
Diversity and Inclusion Caucus.
Sorry. So I'm still figuring out the times. I'll probably most likely send it in the Slack or a group email for the time and date for Diversity Caucus. I do know that next week, Thursdays from about 3 to 4-ish, we will be talking about people's nominations for vice chair outreach and yeah. So if you're interested in the D and I are interested in being vice chair outreach and another position that I'll specify later. Please come Thursday 3 to 4, but it's to be determined the times first.
Thank you. We'll move into our committee reports. Internal Affairs Chair.
Okay, so I know they aren't really here anymore, but I would like to first thank every member of the gallery for coming tonight. I'm sharing the harm this space has caused them specifically. Going back to addressing the Senate, I think that the lack of acknowledgement of the harm that was caused last week, and frankly, the total apathy that has been shown in regard to it is appalling. There have been multiple opportunities for this to be addressed by those that actually caused the harm, and yet here we are, silence from the oppressors yet again. I yield the rest of my report to my vice chair.
Hi. So once again, Internal Affairs meets Mondays noon to 1. We just recently discharged the Lex on voting, voter confidence clarification, and I believe we will be heading into another Lex on Monday, so please come. Thank you.
Thank you, Budgetary.
Hello, everyone. Budgetary Affairs Committee will be meeting tomorrow from 5 to 6. And I encourage all of you to come if you can, because we will be having a presentation near the end that goes over student fees and the student fee review board and a bunch of the other boards. So this will just be very helpful knowledge for you to understand how exactly ASCSU gets its funding and how it is related to other organizations on campus. So just good info to know. And also, I'd just like to express that I'm so proud of how this Senate session went. I think the conversation was very cordial. People expressed themselves with respect, and I think that is very good. And you all are doing so well, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you. And University Affairs.
Good evening, y'all. So this third week that we do not have legislation that University Affairs will look at. But, before you get upset, because I know people have missed my committee. I know, it's really cool. We will still have a committee meeting. It won't be a typical meeting though. I do plan to hold a space for people to go over ideas for legislation and allow some networking there, especially for newer members. I would really encourage you to come and see if there's any projects that anyone's going over. I'm inviting all branch members who are interested. I would love to see y'all there. As a reminder, University Affairs meets Mondays from 4 to 5. Additionally, I want to express that I'm really proud of the members within this space, especially those that decide to come back after the harm of last week. That takes a lot of courage and energy, and I'm really, really proud of every single person in this space. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. I'll now move into legislative officer reports. Pro Tempore.
So, like I said, I'm not a big advocate of trial by fire. Thus, I have my office hours posted on my door, but I've only had one senator to come in to talk to me about their job, and what it is that they do. How can they do it the best? So I would highly encourage all of you to come into my office, come speak to me, ask me those questions, so it doesn't feel like this space is trial by fire. Another thing is that if you're new in the space and need to be added to the Slack, I would encourage you to come down. That way you can be added to the Slack. That's our main form of communication. It's just super cool. I personally like it. It's like Discord. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Parliamentarian? Nothing? Okay. Officer Bukari.
Hi, y'all. Broad, as you might know. I'd like to welcome all the new members. Thanks for coming and being ratified. Voted. Additionally, I'm going to reiterate what I said before the session started. Next session, I'll be handing out a piece of paper, your name, grade of college, and then 4 or 5 pieces of legislation or topic areas you'd like to focus on. We're planning on making like groups to tackle those areas of interest for creating legislation. Additionally, we are working on better ways to get information out to new members and just members in general. There is an option in Slack to search by files. So like I know the budget committee Chair Renchard stated they're going over a presentation. Hopefully that'll also be in the Slack. Right. Awesome. And then if you have any questions, again, I know Speaker Pro Tempore kind of said that is having office hours, but I'll also be sending out my office hours as well. I'll be sending out Google form through the weekly email. So like if you have any questions, not necessarily pertaining to the job, but like how you're feeling in this role, like how can you make this a better space for you? That is part of my job, and I'm also interested to hear your thoughts, and I will present that at Legislative Cabinet. But yeah, thanks for coming out and staying until the end.
Cool. Utah State's coming soon, so if you want to be involved in that, let me know. We'll put you on a list. It's going to be interesting to see how their student government interacts with ours, and maybe we could compare some notes on what we could work on at our campus. There's also the opening for 2 steering committees. One is in regard to the Clark renovation, and the other is in regard to the renovation of the Glover building. So if you're interested in that, there really isn't a set time for when those meetings are going to happen. Just go ahead and contact Jess at the end of this meeting, and she'll set you up with the necessary things that you need for that. I've thought a lot about the events of the past week, and I've done a lot of introspection, and I would like to apologize for perhaps my tone in certain areas. It may have seemed like it was directed at particular people, but I assure you it wasn't. It was more me being upset about procedure. My job as speaker is to make sure that procedure is followed and everyone gets a fair crack at what they're coming up here to do. And that includes everyone getting a fair crack in whatever questions they want to ask, but also candidates getting a fair crack at responding to those questions or concerns. I also fear the longer that we worry about internal issues such as amendments to the Constitution, the less we're actually doing for the students. We have $120,000 to spend in the Senate, and none of that has been spent so far. And frankly, when we have 7% voter turnout last semester, the students don't give two craps about what ASCSU is doing to amend the Constitution. But what they do care about is when they're sloshed on a weekend, that they're going to have a lift code in order to get home so they don't have to drive drunk. They do care about Ramride being funded. They care about Rams Against Hunger being funded so that in case they're dealing with food insecurity, that need could be addressed. We have the opportunity to really work together and put our heads together to make something tangible for this university to make it better. And with what I saw with placards being set up and the room being divided in half purposefully, that's just going to further increase the division. I think a lot of what we will find is we aren't much different than one another, but we'll never understand how similar we are if we divide the room in half. I really want to get things done this year, but I can't do it alone. And at the end of the day, we should all be team ASCSU. On a separate note, professionalism is really important. And there was a lack of professionalism from a candidate last week. And there was lack of professionalism from a senior member of the Senate using very profane language that we've defined is not allowed in this chamber. Please set the example for the new people that are here that that's not what we do here. Please, please. And with that, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Senator Wood.
Okay. Senator Chair Athy.
So I just want to make it known that like this space is already extraordinarily divisive, and allowing SCPS senators to have a chance to sit together allows for some amount of unity, because that space, frankly, sucks. I yield.
Thank you, Senator. I saw some placards up here first. Correa McClellan. Weaver, Trout, Marissa, Taylor, Hill, Johnson. Okay, Senator Mocha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to address everyone in this room, and I just want to say that everyone in this room brings some sort of value to the Senate chamber. Now, I know last week, a lot of people were divided, a lot of people are upset, and I totally understand that. But I just wish that we could all come together and actually do what we are here for. And I know that we all are very smart. We're all very good people. We're all awesome in our own ways. I just wish we could bring peace together and do what we're here for, like I said. We're not here to argue with each other, to get mad at each other. We're here to actually do something for the student body that we can look back on 10, 15 years from now and be like, wow, you know, I helped students with disabilities. Wow, you know, I help people who are struggling with food security. You know, that's what we're here for. And I just hope that, including myself, I want to go home tonight and just look in the mirror and see how I'm doing in this space, because we all need to come together. This, honestly, like I said in the meeting yesterday, if we don't come together and if we don't get stuff done this year, and if we don't get along with each other, then quite frankly, we're just a failure and we failed the students. And that's something that we're gonna have to live with for the rest of our college career and our lives. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Thank you, Senator Correa.
Yes, so, hey, Senate, my bill is going to be in first year class tomorrow, so please show up. It's nothing too much, it's just one four clause, but it will be a good learning curve for those of you that don't know. I would also highly encourage all senators to, and associate senators, or pretty much everyone, even ex-official members, to show up to committee and voice their concerns and pieces of legislation, because that's probably the best space where you can make amendments to legislation, which is 90% of what we should be doing. So please show up to committee. I have an announcement last Senate about a project I'm working on with spin scooters. I'm still waiting for some communication from off-campus life. I had two senators that expressed willingness to work with me. So if you are willing, please let me know and I'll keep you all updated on how we are going. Also, Senator Hill and me are working with CSU PD, hopefully to expand the bike protection program. So if you want to work with us on that, please hit me up. And on the last note, if you want to play politics, then don't hit me up. But if you want to actually work for the students, hit me up. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Weaver.
How's it going, everybody? I'll make this short. So last week, Jason Van Rossum talked about promoting students with silent disabilities. I'd like to maybe get a few people that would be interested. We sit down and talk about legislation, come up with a few ideas to bring to Jason to say, hey, this is how ASCSU is supporting you. So if anybody would be interested in that and kind of helping me out because I'm new to this space, come find me afterwards and give me your contact information. So appreciate you guys. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chair Trout.
Hello again. Just a couple quick announcements for y'all tonight. First off, happy spooky season. UCA will have a couple of performances this week. I'm going to try and do it where performances are either Thursday and then up to Tuesday night, just so I'm not giving you a whole lot of events. Sometimes there'll be more weeks with more events, but regardless. Tomorrow night, our Wind Symphony will be performing Troublesome Fire at 7:30. October 13th, the Symphonic Band will be performing Sea Songs. Both these events have in-person and virtual options. And on October 8th, there will be a guest artist concert. Who is that guest, you may ask? You'll just have to find out on the UCA website. I gotta get y'all intrigued on it somehow. I highly recommend y'all come to support the arts. Additionally, if you are a student who lives off campus and do not have a snow shoveling service offered, Off-Campus Life will be providing out free snow shovels for students who are applicable between now and November 4th. You can come into the office at any point. The office is open, which is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And the office is located next to the bookstore in room 274. If you have any questions, comments, and concerns on that, please let me know. There's a lot of things that Off-Campus Life is doing, both with events as well as stuff behind the scenes that I'd love to get you all involved in. And yes, this is what I would consider a pretty short report. Thank you again for your ears. Have a great rest of your Wednesday night, and I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Senator Barissa.
So I just have a quick report from the back office, the Black African American Cultural Center. So in 2 weeks, we'll be beginning our homecoming weekend. So on Sunday, October 16th, we'll be having our homecoming pageant, and tickets are $5. So if anyone is interested in attending, you can either come to me and I have some tickets to sell, or any members of any staff from the back office or any of the pageant. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Taylor.
I would just like to echo what's been said a few times by just saying that I think the physical dividing of the Senate tonight is obnoxious. I think that it continues the emotions of last week instead of being able to put that behind us and move on, because we all do have a common goal of having a well-functioning Senate. And I think that a lot of that includes talking to people who maybe you don't always side with. And so that's something that I plan to be doing, is talking to people in the Senate, and that's something that I believe all of you guys should too. Thank you again.
Thank you, Senator Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to give my report in saying that I think that, I think I want to echo that I think unity is the best thing, and that's something that I will continue to do, unify our space. For my report, for the Senator, two things. So I'm going to echo what Senator Correa had just mentioned, that I'm working with him to, do this meeting with Jake, captain of the CCPD, Jake Callahan. If anybody wants to join or interested in learning how bike theft works and how we can stop it, and seeing if the camera bill passed last year has any effectiveness so far this year, then we can see if we can expand it, if it works, and please hit myself or Senator Correa up, and we are more than happy to loop you in.
Second of all, this is an idea that was recent. I don't think I mentioned to people that I'm thinking of working with going to be reaching out pretty soon, haven't yet, to Director Silverheart to perhaps do a vaccine drive around campus to, make it more readily available and accessible to people. So if anyone's interested in that, to hit me up as well. And that, Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Thank you, Senator Johnson.
Yeah, hi, hello. I just want to say that like I'm a first year and I just want you guys to know how your actions in Senate come off. This is my first experience in college and like in a space like this, and it is very scary just existing in this space. And then when it becomes divisive, it makes people not want to show up. And I think that really, really sucks. And I just am curious as if this is normal because it, from the cusp, off the cusp, the first day that I was here, it felt antagonistic. And it has not changed. And so I want all of us to be conscious of our actions and realize that we're all also students. We're not politicians yet. We're all, first year, second year, third year, fourth, whatever year you are, we're all still existing in a school space. We all have our own anxieties. And I think I've noticed that it often gets forgotten that we are also existing as like people and students, and that our roles as senators often trumps that. So I just want you guys to be conscious of how it comes off to new people in the space. It's really scary being here. And then it's even scarier when something like what happened this Senate and that Senate happened. So just be conscious of the new members in our space and be like reaching out to them and be like, hey, like this isn't what's normal. And if it is normal, let's try and change that. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Ritter.
Hi, y'all. How's it going? So a couple of things. First of all, so next week, October 10th, we've got Indigenous Peoples Day on Monday and Tuesday. So basically, y'all can go home and do your own research as well. But basically, what we do on Indigenous Peoples Day is we honor the past, present, and future of Native peoples throughout the U.S. This holiday recognizes the legacy and impact of colonialism on Native communities and also celebrates the cultures, contributions, and resilience of contemporary Native peoples. So we'll be tabling all day on the plaza from 10 to 2 p.m. on Monday and Tuesday. And Tuesday we will also be partnering with the Pride Resource Center for National Coming Out Day as well. So we'll be tabling with them. And we will also have a keynote speaker, Beth Wright. And basically she will be discussing a big discussion on the Indian Child Welfare Act, which is basically legislation that is being talked about on November 9th. Which is the Indian Child Welfare Act is basically about trying to take away tribal rights of children and taking away the Indian out of them. And so it's a very important topic to talk about. And so if you all are interested in going in and listening about that, I definitely suggest you coming in and, at least coming in to the plaza as well and showing your support and checking it out. I will be there. In terms of that, I will reiterate from earlier on behalf, I think DEI is always a main priority of ours. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is not a waste of time. I will reiterate what I said earlier in my statement, and I don't need to repeat myself again for people who have heard me to understand. It needs to be understood that being together helps unity. Senator Morgan and I sit in the back alone, and it has been that way since we've been here. And I can speak for myself that it has helped tremendously with my anxiety as a marginalized student sitting alone together, only having each other. And so, me being impacted personally last week negatively, and this is the exact support that I needed, and the people that I sat with before next to was very problematic in terms of someone pushing me for certain motions and the lack of support afterwards. And I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lowe.
So this evening the Student Disability Center is doing our Disability Inclusion Week. So we have 2 events left this week. Tomorrow on Thursday, we have a workshop and a keynote speaker. We are having Carson Tuller, and he is a disability advocate as well as advocating for LGBTQ+ rights. And so the workshop is at 12, from 12 to 1, and then the keynote is from 5:30 to 6:30 in LSC Ballroom A. And then on Friday, there's going to be De-Stress and Unwind with the SDC. And this is just going to be all day Friday in the Disability Center. And then that is my announcements for stuff going on with the SDC. This is the first kind of like cultural pride week that we've done. So it's really important that people come and support those events. And then I will also say, to address other comments that have been made in this space, we are sitting together in an active unity. We are sitting together as marginalized people. We are sitting in community and we are empowering each other. And if that makes you uncomfortable, not my problem. Thank you. I yield.
Chair Salazar.
Hello, everyone. So I would like to start off by first encouraging everyone to utilize the Pride Resource Center's Safe Zone training. It's a way to get more sense of gender neutral terms when speaking, especially in Senate, like referring to guys instead of just saying both. It's also a way to understand different identities and stuff like that. In regard to this month is the start of LGBTQ History Month. We just started it on Saturday with Uphold, and today was the Latine Borderland speaker with Sonia Gunyansaka. Next week, as Senator Lowe mentioned, was the Disability Inclusion Week with keynote speaker. We also have a Global Village Museum exhibit from Friday, October 7th to Saturday, November 19th from 5 to 9 p.m. I think it's the museum in Fort Collins. As Senator Rayner mentioned, there's Indigenous Peoples Day that we're pairing up to do with NAC. And just to reiterate, instead of National Community Day, we are focusing on calling it Community Queerness Day for students. And then we have P-Flag speakers, which is Ben Green. P-Flag stands for Pride and Family of Parents and Families of Lesbian and Gays. That meets Wednesday, October 12th, 6 to 8 at the LSC Theater. And then Salsa Nights in the LSC Theater as well on October 17th from 6 to 8. We have International Pronouns Day from Wednesday, October 19th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the LSC Fleet Market. We also have a symposium for inclusive excellence. The guest speaker is Skylar Baylor. That is on October 20th from 11 to 12:30. Stadium 6th floor. It's going to be a special invitation, so check Pride Instagram for more information. We also have a category is Ballroom Cultural and Dance Session from October 25th to the 26th, and that's from 6 to 8 p.m. at Canvas Stadium 1204. We have Intersex Awareness Day from Wednesday, October 26th. It's all day at the Pride Resource Center, LSC 232. We have A Space Open Mic as well. That's also at the Pride Resource Center from Thursday, October 27th from 3 to 5. I would like to mention you do not have to be identified as queer or anything like that to become into these events, so feel free to utilize that. And I did want to mention what has been talked about. I think it is a great thing that all the POC and marginalized identities are sitting together in unity, especially in a white-dominated institution. It is nice to have empowering in numbers, and I do.
Thank you, Senator Sanchez.
Hi, y'all. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. If you guys know of any Hispanic vendors or entertainers, dancers, friends, family, whatever, bring them to me. Find me on Slack, send me their contact info. I want to speak with them. Thank you.
It's a good thing.
Sure, sure.
Hi all, I have a ALVS update. It's a little early, but we are doing a chili cook-off during the homecoming tailgate. It is officially Saturday, October 15th, so I will announce this again next week, so keep your ears open. It will be from 2 p.m. At the IM Fields. We ask that your chili arrives at 2:30, and then judging will happen at 3 o'clock. Winners will be receiving a scholarship, so there's money, bang bang. But anyways, so if you're interested in chili and you just want to come and eat massive amounts of chili with me, please come with, because I don't want to be stuffing my face by myself. And I yield.
Yeah, don't worry.
Thank you, Senator Bazoya.
Thank you. I would just like to use my senator report rhetorically to ask why it is that a bunch of privileged individuals think that it is terrifying for the SDBS offices to sit together. Furthermore, I'd like to say that I agree when you say that we all want to get stuff done. I know that that's specifically the reason why I joined. This is also my first year in ASCSU. That being said, invalidating and erasing how the actions of last week impacted Senate members only increases the animosity and divide in this space. My question then is, what are you doing to make sure that this place feels less divided? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Doyle.
So the College of Engineering will be hosting a tailgate on October 15th at lot 585. We will not have chili, nor will we have prizes. We do have hot dogs.
Okay, I think next on the list we have Senator Denson.
Yeah, I think regarding, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but the last point, on the placement of the placards, I think we oppose them being preset rather than, we also first guys sitting together, we know support numbers means a lot. We've all experienced that there are a lot of friends and family and people that you identify with are great support for you. I think we just opposed to how they were preset, not that you guys are sitting together. I think that's the aim of contention. I think that's getting sort of mixed up in the watch and sort of identified. That's not what we're saying. I think we just, yeah, that's all I've said for that.
Thank you, Chair Rencher.
For personal privilege, please don't use you guys in your sentences. Thank you.
Apologies, sir.
Just an update for those of you who may not have had time to check out Slack. There's a resolution that I've been working on with Senator Melka, Senator Bukhari, and then Ava McCall, and I'm trying to remember everyone's names who's there, and then Senator Asma Bushara. And that one, if any of you are interested in how we can take action to improve, Senate culture or anything like that, we've been discussing ideas about that. So, for example, like Senator Lozoya, if you're interested in joining, feel free to reach out to me because we are working on how to make Senate a better space to take action. So for sure, if anyone is looking at that, please let me know. We have already written up the main draft of the resolution, and it's always great to have more people viewing it.
Thank you, Senator Melka. You had something.
Yeah, so I'd just like to make one more point to everyone. First off, I support everything that you all are doing. So just don't think that I don't. I support everything you all are doing. And then second of all, for the freshmen in this room that spoke tonight, I would love to be, I don't have that much experience in this room yet, but those of you who feel intimidated, who feel scared in here, I would love to be a mentor for you, at least even just as a person. And I'd love to be someone that you can go to. So if you need someone to talk to, or if you just want to learn how to handle a space like this, feel free to message me in Slack. I'd love to hang out with you one-on-one, talk to you, get lunch with you or whatever. I'm here to support everyone, and I will continue to do that. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Any other senators or associate senators? Seeing none, have a great night.
Way to not take accountability, Nick.
Ariadne, you're such a pleasure. You're such a pleasure to be around.
I know I am, Nick. I'm amazing.
Such a pleasure. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. I'm so great.